It started with a lie, a small one. The kind of thing you tell yourself to get through the day, like I'm fine or this doesn't mean anything. But for June Taylor, that little lie unraveled faster than she ever imagined. On the outside, June had it all together: a steady job in publishing, a cozy apartment in Chicago, and a perfectly curated online life that made her look like the poster girl for stability. But behind every Instagram filter and carefully worded caption, something was missing. She didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. It all began the day she bumped into Oliver, a man with a quiet charm and eyes that held entire stories. He wasn't supposed to matter. He was just a stranger at a wedding, someone she danced with once and laughed with twice. But something about him made her feel seen in a way that scared her. And when he asked if she was happy, she couldn't lie. "Not this time." "I don't know," she whispered. That one answer sparked a conversation that would follow them for months. June wasn't looking for love. Not really. Love, to her, had become a messy word, as something she'd filed away in a dusty box labeled complicated. But Oliver wasn't like anyone she'd met before. He wasn't chasing a highlight reel. He wanted raw, unfiltered, inconvenient truth. And slowly, that began to pull June out of the life she thought she wanted and into one she didn't quite understand. What made it harder was that June was also writing a book, her first attempt at telling her own story instead of hiding behind others. But every page she wrote felt like another thread coming loose. As her relationship with Oliver deepened, so did the cracks in her carefully held together world. Her best friend noticed it. Her sister mentioned it. Even her boss, the ever-pragmatic Clara, raised an eyebrow during a meeting. June laughed it off, but she knew something was shifting. There were good days, the kind where everything felt wide open and limitless. Days where the city lights danced just right, and Oliver made her feel like the only person in the world. But there were also nights when doubts crept in like shadows. Was she falling too fast? Was this real, or just another beautiful story with a heartbreaking ending? The truth is, June had always been afraid of big emotions of the kind that sweep in and change everything. But maybe, just maybe, a great big beautiful life was worth the risk. Maybe love didn't have to be perfect. Maybe it just had to be real. But just when June finally begins to believe in the possibility of something more, she receives a message that could change everything. A name she thought she'd buried, a past she swore she'd left behind, suddenly right in front of her. And that's where our story begins. Because sometimes, the past doesn't stay gone. And love, as beautiful as it is, can tear your world apart before it puts it back together. The message came late at night, tucked between spam emails and an unread newsletter she meant to unsubscribe from months ago. The subject line was just one word: remember? Her breath caught before she even opened it. It was from Liam. She hadn't spoken to Liam in over 4 years. Not since the summer everything burned to the ground, figuratively, but close enough to leave scars that still throbbed. On rainy days, he was the first man who ever made her believe in something bigger than herself, and the last one she let completely in. When he left, he didn't just take the love with him. He took her trust, her plans, the idea that love could be simple if you just tried hard enough. Now, as June stared at her screen, her fingers hovered over the trackpad. She didn't want to read it, but of course, she did. Inside was a short message. "I saw your name on a book list. Congrats. I've been thinking about you. Would love to talk." Just like that, like it hadn't been 4 years. Like he didn't disappear without goodbye. Like he didn't know how deeply his silence had echoed through every bad date and mischance after him. She told herself it didn't matter. She was with Oliver now. Things were still new, but something about it felt different. It felt honest, safer, maybe. But Liam's email stirred something she hadn't felt in years, a strange blend of hope and warning. And that scared her more than she wanted to admit. The next morning, June went about her routine, pretending nothing had changed. She made her coffee, answered emails, and joined a Zoom meeting with her editor. But her mind was somewhere else entirely, stuck in memories she tried so hard to box up. The road trips, the promises, the night under the fireworks when Liam said, "This is it," June. This is everything. Was he back just to say sorry? Or was there something he needed from her? And what would Oliver think if he knew? She hadn't told him yet. She didn't know how to bring it up without sounding like she still cared, and maybe that was the problem. Later that day, she stood by the window, watching rain blur the city skyline. Her phone buzzed. This time, it wasn't Liam. It was Oliver. "Dinner tonight?" he texted. "You okay?" She stared at the screen for a moment too long, because even she didn't know how to answer that. Dinner was quiet. Not awkward, exactly, just filled with the kind of silence that meant something was hanging in the air, waiting to be said. Oliver kept watching her, like he was trying to figure out what had shifted. June poked at her past and forced a smile, but her mind was still stuck on Liam's message. She hadn't replied. Not yet. But the weight of it lingered, growing heavier by the hour. Oliver finally asked, "Did something happen?" She looked up, startled. "Why do you say that?" He shrugged, gently. "You've been somewhere else all night, and this isn't the first time." There it was, that crack in the surface, and she could feel it widening. June wanted to be honest. Oliver deserved that. But how do you explain the way a name from your past can sneak in and steal your balance? Across town, Liam sat in a cafe. Copyright, fingers tapping restlessly against his cup. He didn't expect her to respond, but something told him she might. He had a reason for reaching out to one he hadn't put in the email. Something about the past they shared, something that hadn't stayed buried like he'd hoped. Meanwhile, June's best friend, Talia, was beginning to notice things too. June had cancelled on their last 2 coffee dates. Her texts were shorter, vague. And Talia, who'd seen June fall apart before, could sense when the ground was shifting again. There were layers to this. June's book was due in a month, and the story she was writing had started to echo too much of her real life. Oliver was beginning to pull back slightly, sensing she was guarding something. And then there was Liam, this unresolved thread tugging at everything she thought she was ready to move on from. Something was coming, and June wasn't ready. June sat at her desk long after the sun had gone down, the city glowing behind her like a movie set she didn't quite belong to. Her manuscript was open, the blinking cursor daring her to keep going, but her mind wasn't in the story anymore. It was in that one email. She had typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, still couldn't hit send. What would she even say? Why now? Why me? And beneath all that, the question she didn't want to ask her: what if I still care? Oliver had sensed it more than ever that evening. When he touched her hand, she flinched. When he smiled, she didn't smile back fast enough. Something inside her was pulling in 2 directions. She loved what they had, the ease, the trust, but part of her still lived in the shadows of a different lovier one that never had an ending. The tension came to a breaking point when Talia called her out the next morning. "You're not fine, June. You haven't been for a while. And don't tell me this is about work." June hesitated. "It's Liam," she said quietly. He reached out. Talia's face fell. "Number. Please don't let him back in." You barely made it out the first time, but it was too late. June had already hit send the night before. Now, standing outside the cafe copyright Liam had suggested, she could feel her heart pounding. Inside, he was already waiting, looking just like she remembered her older. Yes, but still with that calm gravity that had once pulled her in so easily. She reached for the door, paused. This momentum, this choice here could change everything. Behind her, her phone buzzed again. It was Oliver. One word. "Where are you?" She didn't move. "Not yet." June's hand froze on the door handle. Her chest tightened as she stared at Liam through the glass. He hadn't noticed her yet. His head was down, fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup like he was rehearsing whatever he was going to say. Her phone buzzed again. This time, Oliver had typed more. "If something's wrong, just tell me." "I'm not him." Her eyes burned. That one sentence said everything. Oliver wasn't Liam. He wasn't the type to leave without answers. He asked questions. He stayed. But here she was, standing outside a cafe copyright where her past was sitting 10 feet away, waiting to open a door she thought she'd closed for good. She turned around, heart pounding. Maybe she could walk away. Maybe that would be the most honest thing she could do. But then, from the corner of her eye, she saw someone watching her. At first, she thought it was just a pedestrian. But the man was standing too still, staring directly at her. When their eyes met, He didn't look away. He pulled out his phone and snapped a photo, a subtle, quick, but not quick enough. Her stomach dropped. She turned back toward the cafe. Copyright, but Liam had already seen her. He stood up, confused, motioning her inside. She looked between him and the stranger, who was now slipping into a black sedan across the street. June stepped into the cafe. Copyright, her thoughts racing. "What's going on?" Liam asked as she sat across from him, breathless. She looked over her shoulder, then back at him. "Do you know that guy? The one outside?" Liam's face changed. "What guy?" "I think he took a picture of me." Liam's eyes narrowed. "Junior broken bar, listen. There's something I didn't put in that email. Something I should have told you before asking to meet." Her throat went dry. "What do you mean?" He leaned in. "You're in my book. The one I'm about to publish." She blinked. "What?" "Not just inspired by you. It is you. And someone's not happy about it." June's phone buzzed again. A new number. This time, just 2 words. "Stop digging." She looked up, heart hammering. This wasn't just about the past anymore. Something else was at play, and she was right in the middle of it. June's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. Liam's words circled in her head. "You're in my book." She sat motionless, trying to process it. "You wrote about me?" she whispered, her voice thin. "Without asking?" Liam looked regretful, but not surprised. "I didn't think you'd ever read it. At first, it was just therapy. Then a publisher got interested, and it moved fast. Too fast. I wanted to talk to you before it came out." June stared at him. "You mean before I saw my life here, my pain on a bookstore shelf?" He looked down. "I changed names. But it's still you. The way we ended." "What I did." "And someone doesn't want it published," she said slowly. "Someone who thinks I've been digging." Liam nodded. "My publisher's been getting anonymous threats. Emails. One mentioned you by name." June stood abruptly, the chair screeching. "I shouldn't have come." But before she could walk out, her phone buzzed again. This time it was from Oliver. "Call me now." She ducked outside, hit dial, her breath clouding in the cold air. "June," Oliver said immediately, "I just got a call from Talia. Someone broke into your apartment." "Nothing taken, just a broken bar messed with." Like they were looking for something. She felt the ground shift under her. "I don't have anything." "You're sure?" he asked. June's mind raced. Then she remembered the box under her bed. Letters, old photos, journals she hadn't opened in years. All of it from her time with Liam. She had forgotten it was even there. She turned back toward the cafe. Copyright, but Liam was gone. Just like before. The next day, June went to the police. She gave them everything. She even gave Liam's manuscript to her lawyer. But 2 weeks later, the real twist came. The publishing house pulled the book, and not because of the threats, but because another writer came forward, claiming Liam had stolen parts of her story too. Liam disappeared again. And June? She used her own story, the pain, the mess, the heartbreaker, and finished her novel. Not about Liam, about truth, about finally choosing herself. It was a bestseller. But on the day of her book launch, a package arrived. No return address. Inside was a copy of Liam's manuscript, a broken bar, and a note. "The story was never just mine. It was always ours." June looked up. The camera flashes waiting. She smiled. But she never opened the book. The flashes kept going as June tucked the note back into the envelope and slid the book beneath the table. Her hands were steady, her breath calm, but inside, she felt something settling, like a thread that had finally been tied off. The past didn't vanish, but it no longer owned her. Liam's story had once shaped her, but it wasn't the ending. It was just a chapter she'd finally outgrown. Later that night, when the crowd had gone and the bookstore lights dimmed, she walked the quiet streets with Oliver. He hadn't asked about the package. He didn't need to. There was something between them now, not built on mystery or escape, but on showing up, especially when it was hard. "I'm proud of you," he said, brushing his thumb over her knuckles. "Not for the book. For walking through all of it and still choosing yourself." June smiled, a soft one, the kind she hadn't worn in a long time. "I think I just got tired of running, of letting other people tell my story." Talia joined them at the after party. She'd read the final draft in one sitting and cried through most of it. "It's the realest thing you've ever written," she said, holding June's face like a sister. "And maybe the bravest." In the weeks that followed, June found a rhythm again. She cleared out the box under her bed, burned some of it, kept the pieces that still meant something, and not out of sadness, but out of peace. She and Oliver moved slowly, without labels or plans. Just trust, just presence. And that was more than enough. Her book continued climbing charts, tagged under emotional love stories and contemporary fiction. Readers sent messages that said things like, "You wrote my heart, and this made me feel less alone." That was all she ever wanted. One afternoon, while signing copies at a small indie bookstore, a girl approached her with nervous eyes and a trembling voice. "Did it really happen? The way you wrote it?" June paused, then nodded. "Some of it." "Enough of it?" The girl nodded back. "Thank you for telling the truth." As she walked away, June looked at the cover of her book again. Not Liam's story, not anyone else's, just hers. And finally, that was enough.